Let's talk Twitter. All right, so I want to talk Twitter today because I get a lot of questions about how often and how do I do this and what kind of content should I be sharing when you talk about wanting to add this as an additional network. Here's the thing. A lot of people, when they ask me this, they're like, so I'm thinking I'll tweet like a couple times a day, every couple days. My advice then is to skip Twitter. If you are not going to be tweeting 5, 10, 15 times per day, you're really not doing yourselves any favor by joining Twitter, because it's going to be really hard for you to gain any traction. It's going to be really hard for you to drive traffic using this network. And it's going to be really hard for you to gain a following, because more often than not, your account's going to look like it's not very active. And it's going to look like it's not a primary network for you. It's going to be very obvious that this is something you kind of added on because you thought maybe you should be using it. And that's not going to be helpful in the long run as far as using this network. So here's the thing though. When you hear me say 5, 10, 15 times per day, you immediately were like, oh, you don't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. There are tools you can use and a couple of tips I want to share with you that make this really manageable. First thing, don't be afraid to repeat yourself. And I mean this in two ways. A, don't be afraid to share the same thing, just with some different copy around it. For example, you will see a link to this video going out every day this week and then every few days in the future, because I want you to see this video and you're not all on at the same time. Each of those tweets, though, will be a little bit different in the text, a little bit different in the copy. We'll talk about the tips I'm sharing right now, or we'll talk about the tools I'm going to talk about later. We'll share it that way so that it doesn't look like the exact same tweet, but it's going to the same place, okay? The second is, don't be afraid to full on repeat exactly what you said before. Like I mentioned, this episode will also go out every once in a while afterwards, and that will be the exact same tweet, because I'm using a tool called Social Oomph that actually sends out a whole bunch of tweets that I have, all of the Hit the Mic TV episodes, all of the Hit the Mic podcast episodes, some sales messages. They're all just in there and they get cycled out and they filter out. When the whole list is done, it starts at the top again and it shuffles them and it goes through. So don't be afraid to repeat yourself. Remember, content that was valuable once will continue to be valuable as long as it remains timely. It's kind of evergreen content. So don't be afraid to use that and to share it over and over again, because your advice holds value and there's new people finding you all the time that maybe didn't see the previous content. Okay? So don't be afraid to repeat yourself. Also, Twitter is a really great place to share other people's content. So use a tool like Buffer or Hootsuite or Sprout Social or whatever it is that you use to schedule content, and schedule in other people's content. Here at the Stacey Harris, we use Buffer. You can find it at bufferapp.com. Links to everything I mentioned down below, by the way. So with Buffer, I can just sort of add them and they'll go out. So I can find an article I really enjoy just in my day-to-day. I add it and it goes out. So I don't have to go, okay, well, it's blog reading time, so I'm going to tweet these 3 articles right now. No, those 3 articles can go out over the rest of the day, or these 12 articles can go out over the next couple of days. Make sure that you're using some kind of tool to share those out over time instead of sharing them all right then. Okay? So there you go. Now I've just created a bunch of content for you. The other option is your fresh, your new content. Make sure you go in and schedule it all at once. Like I said, this episode will go out once a day for 7 days after it goes live. The way we do that is all at once, that whole week's worth gets scheduled. 7 tweets. There you go. Scheduled. That way each day I don't have to go in and remember to do it. I'm not having to fuel Twitter all of the time. I do it in chunks of time so that it's automated. It's going out on its own. So when I have time to go in, I can go in and I can engage. I can respond to replies. I can retweet people. I can engage with the content that other people are providing. I can grow my following, things like that. So it doesn't have to be something that ends up consuming all of your time, all of your days, all of your weeks, all of your months. It just has to be something that you give a little bit of time up front so that you can automate the process as much as possible. All right? So like I mentioned, a few tools here that help: Social Oomph, Buffer, Hootsuite. Any of those sort of social media management tools are really going to help you streamline this process. Like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes, and why don't you come join me in the private Hit the Mic VIP community, where you can connect not just with me, but a couple hundred other amazing entrepreneurs who get this stuff and who want to learn more about this stuff and who are working to make their businesses better just like you. Just go to thestaceyharris.com/VIP to check out the VIP community. All right. I will see you next time.